From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com. That's the website. Or pull out that phone, get the camera app open, a little barcode, QR code, y'all. Hit it up. Takes you right to the website. You can put your order in, check out the social menu as well. See what's popping off at the Corner Pocket. Corner Pocket will be popping off Friday, live show with Jeff and Corey, 5 to 6 o'clock, happy hour. And then don't forget Saturday, it's a Garnet and Gold game. We'll have a meet and greet at Hotel Indigo, dare I say the official hotel of Warchant.com. Meet and greet at noon, 1 o'clock pregame show with Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. There'll be a watch-through with Gene and Tom. I think that's something that will be happening on the internet on YouTube, so check that out. And then a post-game show with Gene and Tom as well. And then later today, we're getting you ready for the Garnet and Gold game, everybody. It's a big deal. Michael Langston, Recruiting Chat, live on YouTube, 7 p.m. I'll be moderating the discussion, so come join us. It's warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. Thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. 5-star rating and review if you're on your Apple device, please. Corey, what's up, man?
What's up, buddy? How are you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, man. I just wolfed down some dinner. We're recording this on Tuesday night, taking you guys behind the curtain, trying to knock it out, give you some info, details. It was good to see you. Rainy day in Tallahassee Tuesday. Looks like it's going to be the same way on Wednesday. Baseball game was canceled, so if you're here for that, or postponed rather. So if you're here for JU FSU baseball analysis, sorry. May 10th doubleheader rescheduled. But I'm all right, man. What do you think about practice on Tuesday, Corey? I didn't get to watch a lot of it because I was putting together the practice footage that will be up on our YouTube channel probably right now as you're all listening to this. Also, I think I got to post the thread for Renegade Express. We're going to do Renegade Express for you folks on Thursday since we're not doing a live show this week. We'll do a live show next week. But, yeah, so it was pouring rain, like pouring rain. And I'm like, I don't want to walk through all this. So I didn't get into the IPF until period 20. What did I miss?
You missed another solid day for the defense, I thought. The first team offense did not do a whole lot. Now there are some bodies being moved around on the offensive line for one reason or another. So they did not really handle the defensive front for the first team defense very well. But like Norvell said, man, I thought it was a spirited practice. There was some back and forth. I thought 11 on 11, there wasn't much to like about what the offense did. I thought there were some nice moments. I thought, Duffy, I thought had the best. It was 7 on 7, but I thought Duffy had the best throw of the day. He hit Wyatt Rector, just ripped it down the seam. I don't know if you were in there for that, for like a 19-yard touchdown. They were doing 7 on 7 red zone stuff.
Yeah, no.
And really nice throw. Like the ones you see the really good ones make where they get to the back of their drop, they plant their foot, and it's out of their hands. Like they see it immediately, they recognize it, and it's out of their hands quickly. Great throw, right in the middle of the field, right in the end zone for a touchdown. I thought that was a really good play. I thought Johnny Wilson had a couple of nice moments. He caught a touchdown at the end, just using his big body. He also had 2 bad drops, and he wide open in the middle of the field. It's going to be a 25, 30-yard gain, and he just dropped it. And you hope, I don't know that drops have been a huge issue, but it's something he's got to figure that out because he is going to get the ball thrown to him a lot, and he should be open. And that he had a couple bad drops on Tuesday, but he also had some nice plays. And I'm trying to think. So maybe the most explosive play of the day was one that was whistled dead. We talked to Trey Benson about it afterwards, but it was a run by Trey Benson. It was a really nice cut. He gets to the second level and then turns on the Jets. And Akeem Dent is coming down from his free safety spot to try to make the tackle. And he has the angle, but Benson is kind of stiff-arming him right in the chest as they blow the whistle. So it would have been interesting if they'd have let that play out to see, number one, he wasn't going to be tackled, but could Dent have tracked him down? Because, man, when Benson hits that next gear, it's impressive, man. That dude's impressive when he gets to full speed. So there was a lot of that. Most of the plays were by the defense. Akeem Dent had another interception. I wrote about him. That story's on our site. He's really what do you think, guys? Like, well, you know what? And Jamie Robinson was all over the field. He made some great plays. Almost had an interception at the end in 11-on-11. Just was all over the field. Had a couple sacks on blitzes. He made a really good. No, you know who made a great play was Cooper. He was covering.
Robert
I can't remember who it was. Sorry, Amarian. I can't remember who he was covering. One of the receivers goes in motion, and he's the only corner on that side of the field. So when his receiver goes to the other side, motions to the other side, he tiptoes towards the line of scrimmage, and as soon as the ball is snapped, he just hightails it towards the quarterback, like full out, and makes a really good read on a zone read. Quarterback read and got Travis for like a 7-yard loss. Like he had nowhere to go. He got in there so quickly. I don't know if that's the key. Like, hey man, if your guy goes across the field, blitz. But he either blitzed or he read it really, really quickly and made a great play. And that guy again, I didn't see him give up a catch. I didn't watch 1-on-1s, but in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11, he didn't give up anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to penalize him if he does on 1-on-1s. That's not even really football. But yeah, man, he's out there still making plays. Jamie Robinson with a great fill during 11-on-11. They were doing a lot of situational stuff, fourth down, fourth and 10 from the 20-yard line of the opposing defense, if you will. Some, 4th and 3 from the 5-yard line. A lot of that sort of stuff. Jamie, just came through on one run fit and just absolutely just bam, point of impact, won it. And, Norvell was giving it up for him. And it's tough because the defense can't wrap up and drag you down. So I always kind of feel even throughout the entire practice, I feel like the defense is handicapped because they can't really play 100%. I think they're still going like 97%, 98%, but like they know they're not going to be able to dive at a guy's legs or, wrap him up and try to drag him down. So it's a little bit of stuff kind of leaning towards the offense a little bit. I did want to talk about Jordan Travis, kind of a weird, I don't know, observation, but just I think he looks so much more physically developed. I think he looks, I see him in between series going to Norvell and talking about stuff, and it never looks like they're disagreeing or on, not on the same page. Seems like he really has a feel for everything, but I'm not seeing, quote unquote production. Now the good thing is that it's the defense is standing tall and making stops. But I don't know. I feel like at this point, I want to maybe see a little bit more out of Jordan. Although maybe it's the whole green jersey thing, but I don't want to say disappointed. I was hoping we'd see some strides. I haven't seen strides. Not to say it can't happen in this offseason, but it's just it's crazy for me. It's like this cognitive dissonance of seeing him more physically developed, standing a little bit more confident in the pocket. He is the unquestioned leader of the team. But like the plays just aren't there. But the plays really weren't there for Tate either on Tuesday. Do we just chalk it up to a bad day, or is Jordan going to really have to kind of buckle down, if you will, this summer and the PRPs, the player run practices, and really try to kind of find another gear, because we need another gear out of him, man.
Yeah, it hasn't been all that impressive the last few days with the ones in general. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like he's not again, when you put a green jersey on him, you take away a lot of his. It's like putting kryptonite on Superman's neck, man. Like that's what makes him a good college quarterback. He's not Jamel Holloway. That's a mid-'80s reference, everyone, for a wishbone quarterback at Oklahoma. He's not Tim Tebow as a freshman. Like he's not solely a runner, but everything plays off that. His ability to run. That's the ground floor. That's the starting off point where it changes the way a defense has to play. And so he doesn't run in these things. And you would hope, in a game, he's gonna get yardage one way or the other. He's going to find a way. But you want it to click more in the passing game. And so far, in my opinion, it really hasn't. Now we don't know if he's missing things or if dudes just aren't open. And if they're not open, what do you want him to do? Like throw picks? Because you don't want to force it and throw to a guy that's not open or it has no separation. And honestly, it doesn't look. But again, if you're not seeing the all 22, it's hard to know what a read he missed here or a read he missed there. There just is. A lot of times it looks like he's still holding onto the ball too long. He's not seeing it, but we don't know if there's anything to see. But you are correct in saying that there has been nothing that I've seen. Now he's been solid. He's been fine. But there's been nothing we've seen this spring, particularly I would say this last week, the last 3 or 4 practices we've watched.
Other than
where
that
it's
Thursday, that Thursday where he was lights out, not fair to hold him up to that standard every single day. But man, he hasn't been hanging out in that neighborhood a lot.
That was like 12 days ago. Like it's been a minute since that. I think that was before the first scrimmage. So it's been a minute since that happened, and you wonder, if he doesn't improve at all as a passer, if it just doesn't click with him quicker, you know what I mean, like the progressions, the reads, getting out of his hands. If he's still the same guy he was last year, they will still be a better offense because he's got better people around him. And he's got, hopefully a better offensive line somehow, some way that's going to happen. And he doesn't typically make mistakes. So they should be better because he'll get to play the whole season, theoretically, if he's healthy. But man, if he could take another step as a thrower, and I mean the throw I'm talking about with Duffy, that was just he sees it, he rips it. And now again, that was 7 on 7. Nobody was doing. None of them did well in 11 on 11. Rodemaker didn't do well. No, he wasn't horrible, but none of them did much of anything in 11 on 11. And they were, like you said, doing some situational stuff. It seemed like they were working on the run game a lot, or short passes, like first down plays, kind of to move to pick up 4 or 5 yards. It seemed like that was a lot of it in the 11 on 11, but they didn't do a ton. They didn't. The offenses just didn't do much at all against the defense in 11 on 11, save for maybe that Benson run. And Rodemaker had 2 really nice throws actually. Now that I think about it, when I think back to 11 on 11, he had 2 really nice throws. I can't remember who the first one was to, but he ripped it in the middle of the field. Just saw it, and that's right, they blew it dead. It was to Johnny Wilson. It would have been, I think, probably a 25, 28-yard throw. Really nice. And they blew it dead because he was getting touched as he threw it. But he got that thing off, and it was a good throw. And then he had another good one, another nice throw to Benson where he led him perfectly out in the flat. Read it, saw that nobody was over there, and it would have been like a 20-yard gain. But yeah, man, when it comes to Travis, to actually end this thought, Clark, you can do it. He hasn't looked noticeably better than he did at the end of last season in that regard, right?
Right.
He just hasn't. It's not like all of a sudden he's Drew Brees and it's out of his hand, it's quick, he's open, and he's just dissecting a defense down the field. That hasn't happened. But again, I don't know if he's missing things, if he's not seeing them quickly enough, or they're just not there. And again, folks, even if they're not there, the beauty of Jordan Travis is if something's not there, he can make something happen still.
Yeah. Also should be noted, the offensive line was, everybody was shuffling around. Defense keeps doing it. Offense, it seems there was a little bit more shuffling around, especially on the offensive line. We did speak to Mike Norvell after practice. He did sort of confirm about the undisclosed injury to Darius Washington. I think there's reports out there that he got, quote unquote, rolled up on. Now, whether or not he's had surgery, I didn't ask Norvell that. We didn't get any clarity on that, but it does sound like he will be out for the Garden and Gold game. But what Norvell said was that he would definitely be ready to roll with them once summer workouts come. So, hey, you get 15 practices. It's football. Guys get hurt. You made it through 10 of them before something happened on the football field. Obviously, Winston Wright was a automobile injury. Yeah, maybe a little bit of that should be factored in with the way the offense looked. But, yeah, the defense, again, I got their period 20. They do 25 periods. So I saw probably about 15, 20 minutes of 11 on 11. Corey obviously saw the entire thing. So maybe a little bit of it should be factored in with the offensive line. I also did think the defense wasn't being very vanilla. The defense, you mentioned Jamie, you mentioned Omarion, like tiptoeing to the line of scrimmage, and, they were disguising a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff they were doing with the fronts that we weren't seeing normally, stuff that I wouldn't really call conventional. And I thought the offensive line actually held up well in several of those sort of situations. But overall, the defense did carry the day. And I saw Jarrett Jackson have a pretty good practice. That's why I asked Norvell about it afterwards, because he remains one of those guys that if he can turn on, if this defense is playing as good as they are right now in practice, and they're still kind of shuffling some guys around, and they settle on 11 and a rotation of dudes, hopefully he's one of the guys that can take it to the next sort of level, because I think Fuller said after the scrimmage on Saturday that at defensive tackle they want to have 2 dudes, obviously. We think Cooper and Fabian, then a third guy that they can rotate in there quite often, probably Jarrett Jackson, I'm thinking. And then like the fourth guy will also get some spot duty, then everything behind that's a depth. So you start getting to probably your Bishop Thomas, your Daniel Lyons. Like, I wonder who that fourth guy can maybe be, or maybe we need to really kind of focus on who that third guy is really going to be. Because I feel like Robert and Fabian just, man, they look different too. I don't know if I was talking to you or Austin, but just like Fabian running off the field, I'm like, dude, Fabian just looks absolutely on a different world plane than the guys playing behind him. Now, a lot of the guys playing behind him right now are true freshmen there, so very tough to gauge it up.
Yeah, he's a grown man, a grown blank man, as Jimbo used to call him. And Cooper too. Jared Jackson is a guy though. He fits it. Like, he's a big dude. He's kind
so
of
tall.
He's
it's his height. When we say he's big, it's just
but it's not like he's skinny. He's not Jalen Goss out there. He's got some stuff to him too. He's probably, I would guess, 290, 300 pounds. He can't be that easy to move. And he had one play where in 11-on-11 he got in the backfield in an instant for a quick sack, like the quickest sack maybe in Florida State practice history. Like, it was a second and a half, and he was touching the green jersey of Travis. So man, I think the defensive line, Lyons is going to be a player, man. He just can't be this year because he's not big enough. But he made another. He batted down a pass in one 11-on-11 play, and then another one. Duffy rolls out on a naked bootleg. The defensive tackle recognized it, got outside, and is fast enough and quick enough that Duffy couldn't turn the corner and had to throw it away. I think they whistled it dead as he was running out of bounds because Lyons played it that well. And that's a defensive tackle, keeping a pretty athletic kid from turning the corner and making something out of nothing. I think that kid might have a chance to be really good. And I also think the same thing, especially about Azarie.
Nailed it. Attaboy.
I nailed it, man. I think I'm getting it. I practiced a little bit on headlines earlier in the day, and I think I'm starting to get it. Azarie, those two guys in particular look like they could be real big time players. McCall too, really. But even the Graham kid, who isn't none of these guys. Omar Graham's not going to play much this year, probably, unless something goes horribly wrong with the guys in front of him. And same with Daniel Lyons. But man, they look like when you get them college bodies and college size and speed, they have some instincts, man. They might be really good players. And Azarie could very well play this year. Could play a lot this year. Who knows? But going back to the defensive secondary too, man, like, what would it mean? What if Akeem Dent really is this? What if he is this guy? A guy that he's had 4 interceptions now in 3 practices, 2 in a scrimmage, and then he had an interception in the end zone on Tuesday, and he also had one on Thursday. If he's this guy, like, you have a good safety combination, like not just a serviceable one, not like, all right, you know what Jamie Robinson is.
Yep.
And if Akeem Dent can like live anywhere close up to his status coming out of high school and becomes like a legitimate all conference type player, man, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to have 2 good safeties that are veterans and can communicate. That's just got to be so comforting for Fuller and Randy Shannon to know that they might have the safety position appears to be locked up.
Boy, I hope so. Selfishly, too, because I remember, again, going down to Palm Beach Central to do the recruiting feature that Michael Langston and I did. And I remember just, editing the video, hanging out with him for a day, watching him practice. I'm just like, yeah, he's different, man. He's like a legitimate, high-level Division I defensive back. I thought he'd be maybe more of a cover corner kind of guy. But whatever, man. If they can get what I thought they can get out of him at the corner spot, playing free safety right now, and he's making interceptions, he's making dynamic plays, as Norvell said afterwards. That's huge because Jamie Robinson was literally first team All ACC last year. I'm telling you, if Amarian Cooper plays all 13 games, all 12 regular season games, he's going to at least be second team All ACC. I feel. So if you got both safety positions locked down, you got that real good cornerback. Again, Kevin Knowles had some really good plays, I thought. You said Azarie obviously is kind of coming on strong. Greedy Vance. I didn't see a lot of Greedy on Tuesday. He was out there though. But if he can maybe get more involved into the flow of things, you have a really good secondary. Not Fuller. Norvell said he thinks the defensive tackle might be, I don't know, did he say the deepest or maybe the most talented?
He said the deepest position on the team, which I would disagree with, but they do have a lot of bodies there. I just don't know how many of those guys you expect to. I guess Farmer, Malcolm Ray, Jarrett Jackson, those are the backups that you think are going to play behind Cooper and Lovett.
And I thought Amari had a good breakup, had a good play in coverage in red zone, sort of 11-on-11 towards the end of practice too. Now, granted, he was being shouted at by Randy Shannon of what to do on the play, which is not going to happen, September 4th in New Orleans. But still, just to see his athleticism sort of shine. Tatum Bethune, I saw him coming on some blitzes and really create some havoc too. So yeah, man, they're figuring this thing out on the defense. So maybe that's partly why the offense doesn't look all that strong. But then it also goes back to the whole, when you always talk to a football coach in the preseason, so I was like, our defense is always ahead of the offense. Well, it's like, all right, we'll catch up, man. At what point does the offense, finally figure out a way to get ahead of the defense? So they got practice Thursday, Friday, Garden Gold game Saturday, and then a practice on Tuesday. So I mean, they still have they got 4 more practices. We can still see some guys maybe develop. But how worried are you about offensive line if Darius Washington's a guy? Again, definitely will be ready to go in the summer. So I guess we shouldn't really make a mountain out of a molehill. But him not being able to finish out this spring, does it change anything, or is it maybe like a sort of blessing in disguise? Some other guys getting into the mix, possibly.
I think what it could do is let you know if other people are ready or not, just in case. So maybe it is a blessing that he's not, he won't be probably out there for the next week at least. So you got to throw some other bodies at the problem and see if they can hold up, and if they can't, again, I would not be stunned. Look, as soon as I would say it might be after the spring game, probably won't be till the Wednesday after that last practice. But starting that Wednesday for the next 2 weeks, I would feel like you're going to have, half a dozen, 8 guys from this team enter the portal. So see where that stands. See who's leaving, who's staying. We're not going to even speculate, but you guys can probably figure out who might be.
We should do a time capsule. Let's do a time capsule, Corey, where you and I will silently put our picks in a bin, and then we'll pull it out like August 1st, and we'll see how many we got right and wrong.
There you go. But yeah, so when that happens, it's going to free up some numbers, and Florida State will likely have at least a handful, 2, 3, 4 spots that they can spend in the portal. I would think offensive line is definitely something they need to do. Somebody that can play. Look, Dylan Gibbons was after last spring, so there might be somebody like that can fall into your lap, and you need to have your lap waiting. Well, that's an awful thing to say. Have your lap waiting and just open and ready for it. Don't be covered up. Don't have a pillow on your lap,
like Santa's lap.
Yeah. You got to have your lap ready for when something falls in it. Yeah. That's just common sense, folks. So when that happens, you got to go. I think you got to get a body on the offensive line, somebody that maybe can play right away. And then I still think that with the defensive line too. I think the line of scrimmage in general. If there's a dude out there that can play and he can play, bring him in. Just don't go get a body. Get somebody that can start for you or really push for playing time, and that makes everybody better. But I think that will happen. I think the line of scrimmage on both sides, particularly the offensive line, though, I think you're going to need one more person there.
Has anything changed, you think, in your mind of what they need to get in the portal after 11 practices we've seen now? Like I keep wavering on quarterback. I say it would be derelict of duty if you don't have a better insurance policy on Jordan Travis, but we've gone over ad nauseum just the difficulty in getting somebody.
Yeah.
I still feel like defensive end, maybe more than offensive line, but maybe offensive line starting to maybe squeak ahead a little bit just because.
And I'll say, I'll throw receiver in there too. Okay. Because I'm interested. I think there's maybe a couple of kids in that position group right now that might see the writing on the wall and decide to go somewhere else. So you might have a couple spaces because right now I feel like they have 9 or 10 guys on scholarship. You don't know Winston Wright's prognosis. I guess he could play this season. We don't know. Certainly doesn't. We've now asked Norvell twice about him, and not once did he say we're hoping to have him back by July, which I think he might if there was a chance this kid was going to play, or a good chance anyway. So without Winston Wright, I still think, man, if there's somebody out there at receiver that becomes available, I think that might be a big. Deuce Spann, he might end up being something. He's not going to do it for you this year. He's not going to be somebody that's going to be making plays for you this year. Portier, like Burrell, they're just like they can. I'm sure they can play. I'm sure they can make plays, but you don't have a lot of there's nothing special. Yeah. Pittman's probably the closest. as far as a guy that just has this innate ability to go catch contested balls. And then Johnny Wilson has that size, which is elite. But there's not a lot there right now that's elite at all, really. Yeah. And maybe somehow a guy comes out, falls into the portal that could make your receivers like right now. I think we were talking about this on headlines. It's an average ACC receiving core right now, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not. Last year was awful, so it was one of the worst in the Power Five, I thought. So it's a step up. It's substantial. It's an average ACC receiving core. But what if you went and sprinkled in a guy that just wasn't getting any playing time at, I don't know, Ohio State, and he comes to Florida State and he immediately becomes your best receiver, your second best receiver. Now, and is a guy that can, maybe catch 12 touchdowns in a season. Now you're good. You got a good receiving core. So I just think you're always trying to be better. You don't want, I think the offensive line is going to be average. I think your quarterback play is going to be above average, but that accounts for the guy's wheels, his legs. The running backs are going to be above average, and the receivers are going to be average, I think average on the whole compared to the rest of the conference, and that's a lot of average. I do think after watching this spring, without getting really to see Winston Wright at all and what he would mean, and losing a guy that was going to be your number one, if somebody else kind of falls in there that you have a chance at, I certainly would maybe hold a spot for a game-changing wide receiver, if there is one that's out there.
Alabama lost one the other day, Ajay Hall, who originally I think was from he went to Armwood, ended up at another high school, but man, he's had some tough knocks in Tuscaloosa. I think he tweeted before a Tennessee game I'm out, and deleted it, didn't suit up for that game, so I don't know if he's been processed or not. But he's 6'2", 183, is a 4-star, but yeah, that might be. Maybe not the amount of juice you want from the squeeze you have to get. But, yeah, there's other guys out there, hopefully. Maybe they don't like their quarterback situation. They feel like they got a better one in Tallahassee, so why not come out here and catch some passes from Jordan and an offense for playmakers. If you're a playmaker, right, everybody, holler at Rising Spear, too. We'll figure it all out. We'll get a package created for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you got to do something. Get those guys here, man. Because, again, I think the most elite thing you have on the offense, the only thing that's really, truly special, and I'm not saying these guys aren't good. If you hear that they're not special, it doesn't mean that they're not good college football players. The only really thing, I think the one aspect of this offense that you have that is truly special is your quarterback's running ability.
Correct.
Right? That's probably it. That's probably the only elite thing you have on this offense. But if there's something out there that can you're not going to have an elite offensive line, no matter who falls into the portal, but maybe you could go get a wide receiver that's a difference maker to go along with Micah Pittman, who was a good college football player, Johnny Wilson, who has great size, and then somebody like Pokey Wilson, who could be, if he's your third or fourth, well, all of a sudden now you feel pretty good about your wide receiver room. But losing Winston Wright, if he has indeed been lost, is a big loss, because that's a guy you were counting on to be the dude. And now you probably don't get him. Well, maybe there's another Winston Wright-ish type person out there. And I just think you need it. I think you can't coach up all the yards and all the points. Sometimes guys got to go make plays and score touchdowns almost on their own. And go find one of those guys, Mike. Come on, man. You got Rising Spear behind you. You got all of Seminole Nation behind you. Go find somebody that can go put a ball in the end zone.
Yeah, again, Winston Wright had over 30 catches for first downs last year, which was top 30 in the nation. So that was definitely a little bit of a ding. I want to ask you this on the way out, Corey. Saw a tweet about Florida State in the portal. They've lost 18 guys since August. Only 2 are at the same level of football at Power 5, Chubba and the kicker, Parker Grotehouse.
And he doesn't count. Number one, he was a walk-on, right?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
And kickers don't. I mean, I love you, Parker. Go knock him dead in Morgantown, man. Burn all the couches you want. But that doesn't count. So let's say 17. So 1 out of 17.
Yeah.
Now, some of them haven't found homes yet. Like Jarvis Brownlee will be at a D1 school. He'll be at a Power 5 school, probably. Not D1, but Power 5, you would think. And then, Corey Wren probably wouldn't. But, yeah, that's kind of telling, right, man?
Yeah, Jimmy's and Joe's, players play or coaches coach, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I guess that's, if anything, they've done an efficient job of filtering out the roster, of whatever you want to say, processing, turning it over.
Yes.
What they have lost. And again, and Chuba's that's a very tentative loss too. To
Right.
really, not to bash on the kid or anything, but who knows what's going to happen. I mean, right now, I haven't checked what's going on in Nebraska and Lincoln, but I know that Casey Thompson apparently was going to take the first team reps the first day of practice out there. Not sure how it's all played out there. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want that to sound like a knock on Willie, because there's guys that Willie did recruit that I'm like, and they're, like Malcolm Ray's a guy that probably involved in the rotation. Kalen DeLoach is a guy that's probably going to be a standout for them. There's Darius Washington's a guy they're going to count on, that they're going to rotate on that line. Maurice Smith. So I remember arguing with somebody about this. I'm like, this is going to be kind of weird if they end up being a good team this year, because a lot of the guys that we're thinking are going to be, parts of the solution are guys that Willie Taggart recruited. And they're like, well, relax, Aslan. That just means that everything he did wasn't completely a terrible thing. I'm
Right.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
But when you think about what this roster is now compared to what it was 18 months ago, 24 months ago.
Shoot, dude, he's August. Not even. I mean, that's whatever. What was that, 8 months ago?
Well, yeah, sure. And think about who those 18 have been replaced with. These guys, Bethune can play, man. Jared Verse can play.
Yes.
Jamie Robinson, I would say if you're counting about the guy, thinking about the 20 or so that have left in the last year and a half, and the 20 or so that have come in, I mean, almost position by position, player by player, you've gotten better, and in some cases, substantially better. Like Jamie Robinson, Jermaine Johnson, all these
Thomas.
Guys. These guys can really
play in the NFL. Yeah, they can play on Sundays.
Yeah, so look, the roster has been overturned, which was a huge thing that had to be done. What he took over in 2020 was not a competitive football roster. Not that he gets it was 2020, I guess, 2019 really, but that was not a competitive football roster. It was not anywhere close to what Florida State needs to be. It still isn't, but Florida State had, I don't know, one of the 5 worst rosters in the ACC 2 years ago. When you really look at it, especially with guys like Marvin and Durden not playing because they were hurt, that was an awful football roster, which is why they were 3-6 and could have been 3-9 or 2-10 really easily with some huge blowout losses. And now in 2 years, I mean, we were talking about it. Somebody asked us on Headlines about how many teams on Florida State's schedule have I can't remember the exact word it was used. They have a decided talent advantage. Decided talent advantage over Florida State. How many would you say on the schedule how many teams on the schedule would you say that has a decided talent advantage? Not an advantage, but a decided one. I would say
Clemson,
one.
if I had to twist, give you one,
That's right. And I think that's it. I mean, I don't think LSU is, because they lost so much. Now, typically LSU would.
They don't have a
but
quarterback.
Not this LSU, not this current LSU team. Yeah. Miami, Florida, no. They're not. Florida State has at least they've gotten this roster to a point where it is competitive with these other Norvell has done that in 2 years through a COVID, basically through a year and a half where he couldn't recruit. The portal did save him. Now let's not act like he didn't have the luxury of getting a portal that people 10 years ago didn't. So, but the portal has made this program, it's gotten it on even footing, talent wise, with everybody else you're playing, but probably Clemson. So good. Now you got to go win games.
Absolutely.
But that's why I was telling Jeff. It's like I think you're going to be in a lot of close games. You're going to be in a lot of close games. And you do seem to have a quarterback. I know the Clemson game notwithstanding, you do seem to have a quarterback that can make plays down. I think he has some belief in him. I think his teammates do, and has shown that at least in a few times in his career that he can make plays down the stretch to go win a game. So that's good going into his 6th year, which he's still just a junior. He's just a redshirt junior. So that's good, man. You like where the program is, but obviously it's still got to get better. It's not anywhere close to a championship roster, but it's certainly close to a Belk Bowl roster. Yeah. Aslan, am I right?
That's all I want, man. Let's go to Charlotte. I want a gift card.
Charlotte's beautiful around New Year's. Yeah, between Christmas and New Year's, man.
They'll be practicing Thursday, Friday. We'll be back out there Thursday. Again, we'll do Renegade Express. Post will be up on warchant.com, so check it out, get involved. On the way out, though, Corey, Drive to Survive, the Netflix show about F1 that's taking storm, taking the world by storm.
Right.
First season didn't really do it for me, but I stuck with it. And now I'm on to season 3 or season 2. Right. I'm on the 2020 year, but I don't know if I'm going to end up treating F1 like JUCO football, where I don't want to know what happens. I just want to watch the show. Like, I just want to watch Last Chance U. I don't want to know who won it actually.
Right.
But so, like, where are we on this? Do we have a favorite team? And one of my buddies has loved F1 forever, and I'm like, dude, do I root for a team? Do I root for a driver? He's like, dude, you can do it. He's like, that's the beauty. He's like, you can root for whoever you want. You can have multiple teams, multiple drivers. Who's your dude? Do you have a dude?
I don't have one. Okay. I've watched the last 2, so I watched this last one, the new one, this last season. And the beauty is I don't keep up with Formula One at all, so I have no idea. It's not like anything was spoiled for me.
Okay. When
I got to the end, I was literally okay, what's going to happen here? I really don't know. I legitimately didn't know. So that was cool. And then, now I think it's becoming more part of our culture somehow. I think it's like soccer in the early 2000s. Yeah. I feel like Formula One is becoming more popular over here, so I think I'm going to have my stuff spoiled for the next time I watch this show, but hopefully I'll forget it because I don't care enough. But no, I don't. It's a weird sport, man. It is a weird sport where it's all about, they go into the season. One of the team guys this year, one of the owners this year, said his goal was to finish 3rd.
Yeah.
And that would be a great season.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what? Because they know they can't compete with those 2 top ones. And it's like, well, why? Well, they got more money, so they spend more money on their engineers and their cars. And I don't know. I don't know how they spend their money.
But apparently, I think they're supposedly don't they have a salary cap now, actually?
Oh, do they?
I think so.
Well, then why is it automatically those 2 teams every year that are always so good?
Well, that I don't know. Maybe they didn't end up going through with it, but I remember they were showing next season on, Drive to Survive, it will be like nothing else, and it's like they're going to have, a pay structure, like some sort of salary cap kind of thing. Yeah, it's
all right.
Ferrari and Mercedes. I want to go to the Grand Prix in Austin. I've never been to Austin. I figured that'd be such a great thing to do, and it actually falls on a weekend where Florida's got an off week.
Well, let's do it, man. You want to go see Lewis Hamilton, the best athlete in the world?
Let's do it.
My brother-in-law is British, and he's been talking about that guy for 10 years. Said he's the best driver that's ever lived. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, why doesn't he go into one of those cars that always finishes last and see if he can win the race in that?
Go to Williams.
But he's like, no, mate, that's not how it works. I'm like, yeah, great. Okay, so there are a lot of people that could win in the car he's driving.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't the greatest be like the guy that can win, like LeBron James taking that terrible Cavs team to the finals?
Good point.
I want to see Lewis Hamilton do that. Show me your greatness, man. Yeah. Go drive the team that always finishes 15th. I can't even remember any of their names, Aslan. I can't remember any of the teams that
I know.
McLaren?
McLaren's good.
Williams, yeah.
Yeah. The midfield, they call it. The midfield's spots like the top 3 are already kind of figured out every year, it seems like. It's Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, and then behind them is like the midfield. It's Renault and McLaren and all those other teams. Yeah, Williams is like bottom of the barrel. So anyhow, we won't talk about all that much. Corey and I mentioned in passing. I didn't get to follow up with you, so I figured.
Yeah, man, I like it. It's a good show for the people that don't know the show. It's like Hard Knocks, but for Formula One. And again, I'm not a Formula One fan at all, but it is really interesting because I know nothing about it, nothing about that world, nothing about how those cars get prepared, the race day. That teams buy one driver from another team. And there's all that drama at the end of the year if that guy's going to stick with that team and all that. All the dudes look like models. It's nuts. But yeah, I thought it was like hard knocks for except that it follows all the teams, not just one team. But yeah, it's a good show, man. It's those behind the scenes reality sports shows are always pretty good. While we're on TV, real quick though, Aslan, I'm going to suggest 2 before we get out of here. Severance, which is on Apple Plus.
Okay.
Adam Scott's in it. John Turturro, Christopher Walken. It's a really kind of weird, freaky, creepy sci-fi. It's not like sci-fi like they're in spaceships or anything. It's just basically it's a guy gets a
something.
It's a guy that gets a chip. You can get a chip put in your head where you go to work and you don't remember who you are outside of work. You just focus on the work, and then when your day is done, the chip gets reset, and then you're back to your personal non-work self, and you have no idea what's going on at the job you work at. And when you're at work, you have no idea who you are outside of work. Like you don't have any clue what you do. You don't have any clue if you have a family. But it's trippy and weird, but it's actually really good. Ben Stiller directs it. And then another one is called Pachinko, which is this. I only know about it because it got 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a Japanese/Korean. I don't know how to say it, a generational drama that follows like these 4 different generations from the same family, and it flashes back and forward from like 1930 to 1990. And like the grandma
Like
when she was a
Asian
kid.
Yellowstone? Is it like Asian Yellowstone pretty much?
Basically. That's what that's a good tagline, Aslan. But yeah, it's really good, man. I really like both those shows a lot.
Pachinko.
So, and you're welcome, folks.
Pachinko, that's striking me as like an Asian-themed show, but I'll check it out. All right.
Yeah.
You know, you're such a dude, Corey, but you're a very open-minded consumer of media. Like I wouldn't have taken you for like a guy that would like a show about brain implantation of chips that give you a false sense of who you are.
My favorite movie of the year was Coda, which won Best Picture, so that's not crazy. Sound of Metal was also great, but I also like the Marvel movies too. I mean, I'm not I'm not one of those weird nerds that is there the first day at noon.
Let's not disenfranchise. Let's not.
Sorry, everyone. I'm not saying but they know they are. A nerd isn't even a pejorative anymore. Like people are proud to be nerds.
Yeah.
And I'm a nerd. I'm nerd in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I like all kinds of media, man. I pop culture and stuff. Yeah, that's what I like. It makes life worth living, buddy. And I got 3 hours at night where I'm just watching my Netflix or watching my iPad. Yeah, Apple Plus, all of it. Hulu. You guys know the streaming services. I'm not going to sit here and
give
advertise
free
for
promotion.
them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're out of here. We gave you like 35 minutes on a football practice, a single practice. Who loves you? We'll be back with shows tomorrow as well as Friday. We'll finish the week out strong for you folks. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.